have a question for Alice Paul. Don't you think that the women in the Triangle Shirtwig factory could have started a fire, seeing that there's so many of them?
Um, I believe it, but the way you had them in the factories were even worse because it was only one elevator working, and the fire escape, it took hours for them to get down. So it was more of your fault than us.
But if the women working were more careful about dropping pieces of flame into a garbage can, don't you think that without these dysfunctional people, it will just end all the deaths of fires?
We could have been more careful. We should have been more careful. But like I said, one elevator worked. It was more than one elevator, but only one elevator worked. One fire escape, and it took hours for. If it took hours for all of the women to get down it, most of them would have died anyway. So.
All right, so I'm John D. Rockefeller, and some of you may have had a problem with me raising my prices or whatever, but at the end of the day, it was beneficial because I gave back to the poor, and I gave back to the black education. So yeah.
What's your question?
Oh, so I would like to ask you, why did you have a problem with us raising our prices?
Well, I, as Theodore Roosevelt, I had a problem because you guys were raising the prices, literally knocking out other companies. But if one giant corporation has control, how does that share? What do you do in case of a problem if one giant corporation has control? You have one giant corporation, your corporation goes out of business. What do you do with your workers?
Well, we wouldn't have business. Well, we wouldn't have business, but like I said, at the end of the day, it was beneficial because I was a millionaire. And
so you said it was beneficial because you were a millionaire, but
yeah,
what does that have to do? What does that have to do with your workers? It was beneficial for you. What about your workers? I thought you said you like giving back to the poor.
Yeah, I did. And on top of that, I raised prices down.
How do you raise prices down?
All right, so the prices were high, and I put them down. And then at the end of the day, I raised them back up because I wanted to get my competitors out of the business. But at the end of the day, I gave back to the poor, and they didn't have to worry about that.
So you said that the prices were high, you brought the prices down, but then you raised them again.
Yep.
So
like I said,
you basically just killed your competition.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's the reason I had a problem with you, because you had a giant corporation who was just killing other companies. That was my problem with you, and I didn't think that was right.
Oh, well, I thought it was right. So.
My name is Theodore Roosevelt, and I have a question for Upton Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair, what was the point of your book, The Jungle?
The point of my book was to actually focus more on the immigrants in these working conditions in these meatpacking factories. But the people who read my book took it the wrong way and thought it was more about the meatpacking industry's process of packing the meat in the first place, but it really wasn't.
So you're calling the American society stupid?
I'm not calling them stupid. I'm actually saying that they took it the wrong way. I'm saying they misinterpreted everything that was in the book. That's pretty much what I'm saying.
So you're calling them stupid. You basically just said that they misinterpreted the whole book. Why didn't you make it more clear? Well, what was the problem with making it more clear and clarifying more on the points? Instead of writing about how the meatpacking industry was really bad, why didn't you talk about the conditions that the workers were in? This man immigrated, so-and-so immigrated from somewhere. He works here. He doesn't make enough money.
He said they the people were missing. Oh, but I'm clarifying. He said they misinterpreted it. He never said they were stupid.
Misinterpreted.
But you want me to explain what I was about to say? Now, okay, first of all, in these rooms that they had in the meatpacking industry, they had these pickled rooms, right? Where, you know, pickled eggs, right? They had these pickling rooms where they would use different acids, and some people would have their joints, their bones, and everything watered away and pretty much melted away by acid. And also sometimes they would cut their own fingers off.
But if the point of your book was to talk about immigrants, why did you talk about what was inside the meat factories? What type of acids they were using?
Literally, I was talking about what acids they were using because that was what's killing the first people in the first place. They were using acids in cooking vats. And also, people would fall into those cooking vats and they would actually die in the first place. That's how there were so many cooking vats. Why do you think there were so many deaths?
Okay,
Because
so
of those cooking vats and the acids.
So, my name is W.E.B. Du Bois, and I have a question for Alice Paul. So, I wanted to say, since you were so focused on women's rights and protecting the women, have you ever thought about what would happen to them when they were jailed, especially because they stood up to the president? So that was something that was very important.
So your question is, have I thought about them? What would happen to them in jail? Not necessarily, because my thing was to get them more, like, man.
But if you were for protecting them, then how come that wasn't something that was on your mind?
No.
Did you go to jail too?
Yeah. But I got a question for John D. Rockefeller. Okay. So did you ever think, like, why did you refuse to put sprinklers in your factories?
I wasn't thinking about it at the time.
Have you ever thought about if your mother was in that factory?
Like I said, my mother. Excuse me, like I said, my mother never had to go through that. She was never in the factory. I was rich. I took care of